Ooh, an adult animated comedy for Hulu, right up my alley with The Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, Family Guy, American Dad, Bless the Hearts, Duncanville, Solar Opposites, and this. It's original. It's medieval. It it has good animation. It must be good. Yeah, no. So I finally watched Crossing Swords, and my general thoughts, I did not like it. It is not a good show. It is pretty bad. This show follows a squire named Patrick who becomes a worker of the king for his kingdom, doing weird various tasks like protecting his daughter, or even one of them is just, I don't even remember. Like, for the most part, I kind of forgot what happened in this show. The only things I remember are things that aren't good, like the shock humor this show tends to use a lot. It's definitely not something. Well, I mean, you could say, yeah, shock humor is meant to be funny, but then what's the point if your show's just all about shock humor and the story literally has zero substance? The characters are all terrible. I mean, Patrick is okay, but he's not interesting. Uh, his friend, his friend is okay, but he's just comic relief, nothing more than that. But everyone else is just unlikable. They're assholes. They're jerks. They're douchebags. They're all just mean, and like, this show just constantly reinforces that stereotype that everyone is mean. It's just like kind of like Modern Family Guy, how everyone is just like a shell of their former selves. Except this show is actually like the start of it. Like, if you take a look at this clip, you'll see what I mean.
Sir Wendell, what's this hole?
That's what we in this pleasure business call a glory hole. Or the knock knock who's their seaman whose seamen stick their dicks through this hole.
What about in here? What the?
Oh, hi! Welcome to the Queen's Sex Dungeon, aka the Fun Dungeon!
It's not a good show. It's pretty bad. Like, if you want me to say something good about it, maybe the stop motion animation is great. Like, I actually like it. It has a unique sort of style, except for maybe like the fact that they don't have hands. That's a little weird. And the voice acting, they definitely did a good job. Like, I would praise Nicholas Hoult, Maya Erskine. I praise all of them, for their voice performances in this show. And Patrick is sort of a decent character, and maybe his friend who's just there for comic relief is fine too, but other than that, I don't like the writing on this show. Like, I take bad animation over bad writing any day. There are a lot of shows with worse art styles and animation than this, but their writing is so good that I'm willing to ignore the fact that they have it. But this show, like, the writing is just bad. Like, maybe I don't like this because I don't like Robot Chicken, but considering the fact that both shows are completely different in their premises and episode lengths, it still feels bad and uninspired. Like, the first 7 episodes of this show were just complete crap. They just sucked ass. There's way too many unfunny, crass, shock humor jokes that get old after 2 minutes. The show has a habit of using lazy writing to end an episode. And when the show isn't being awful, it's freaking boring. Maybe if I think this show continues on with episodes 8 through 10, it can actually maybe distinguish itself from Robot Chicken, because I don't like that show at all. It's just shock humor, and they have different characters every episode, but basically the same thing happens to them almost every time. Maybe if it continues with episodes 8 through 10, which I actually like, it can be decent, because like episode 8, which is one of the ones I consider the most best written, it's decent, but only because of the main plot. Like, the main plot has Patrick being separated from the group when they all leave the kingdom after being told that there was a plague, so they all wanted to escape. and he gets lost, ends up in a cold mansion with a widowed Yeti who lives there and is hoarding stuff. She started hoarding after her husband left and never came back. And so Patrick tries to teach her not to hoard, and it's okay to let go of stuff. And from there, you can actually see that the characters actually have some substance. They're like you feel sorry for the Yeti because like her husband died and like she had nothing to resort to, so you feel kind of bad for her. And at the same time, like you can actually kind of sort of care for them because of the way that they interact. There's like very little shock humor in these, and there's more dialogue and stuff. Like it's pretty good writing. I think if they somehow made it funnier, it would be better. But then you could also take the example of this taking like sort of the Brian and Stewie format. You know, there was an episode where Brian and Stewie and Family Guy get locked in a bank vault, and all they have to do for 20 minutes is just talk to each other about their problems. And like Brian and Stewie is easily one of my top 5 episodes of Family Guy. It is amazing. Like you just take 2 characters. No one else appears in the episode, just them. And you basically just let them talk about their problems. And they just talk and talk. I don't think it's not meant to be funny. It's just meant to tell a story based on 2 characters using only dialogue. And we learn so much about Brian and Stewie. Like, Brian sometimes he's depressed. And we learn that because he has a gun. And because he has Stewie, he no longer needs to feel that way. And, of course, we learned that Brian cares a lot about Stewie. And vice versa. And basically just having them talk for 20 whole minutes is what made that episode amazing. It's one of my favorites. I highly recommend it. So with Crossing Swords, back to Crossing Swords, episode 8. I think I actually like the main plot. It's just that the subplot was just downright awful. So I'd say episode 8 is just decent. Like, if it was just them talking for the whole episode, I would actually maybe just check out season 2 just because I like that one episode and like you could see the potential the show has. But the show is just gonna be shock humor after shock humor over and over again. I don't think this is the show for me. Like shows like Rick and Morty are great because they combine the shock humor with smart jokes and good character dynamics. But the jokes in this show, like for me, are just 99% miss. Like they're all just not funny and they're all just the same thing over and over again. I've watched a lot of adult cartoons this year, like Midnight Gospel, Solar Opposites, Bless the Hearts, Central Park, Duncanville. Close enough, too. And I actually at least enjoyed all of them enough to check out another season. But this show will be the first that I am likely not going to continue watching. I'm sorry. I watched all 10 episodes hoping it would get better. It somewhat did, but it was kind of too late by then. And then again, like, it had 7 bad episodes. Bad. Like, come on. Like, Duncanville maybe had, like, 1 or 2 bad episodes. The rest were just good or bland. Blessed Hearts didn't have any bad episodes, but the worst was probably just mediocre. But, like, this show had 7 bad episodes in a row. I don't think I can check this out anytime soon. It's good that Hulu renewed it for the people who like it. It's just not for me. We can talk about the characters for a little bit too. Like most of the characters are basically just the same. They're all just assholes, except for Patrick. Patrick's sort of decent, but it's hard to care for him because he's not that good of a character in the first place. We don't know much about him except that he's being shitted on by everyone who's around him. Like, the daughter of the king. Well, not really the king, but, like, the daughter of the king, his siblings. Pretty much everyone just shits on him, and it's basically just the same thing over and over again. So you don't hate Patrick, but you don't care enough for him to be invested in him. And that's the problem I have with... That's one of the problems, like I said, I have with Crossing Swords. The characters are just terrible. They're all unlikable, except Patrick and maybe his friend. And, yeah, it's just mostly the characters... Writing bad jokes. bad episodes. Yeah. The terrible episodes of this show make modern Family Guy and Duncanville look good. Like, I watched Family Guy season 18. I thought it was pretty sucky, but I didn't think it was bad. So, like, and if you wanted to know what I'd give this show, I'd, like, give this show on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give it a 4.5. So, Crossing Swords is definitely a show I don't recommend. There's too many unfunny jokes, too much emphasis on shock humor, very unlikable characters, but the show does have some redeeming moments in its characters in the last 3 episodes, and the last 3 episodes are maybe worth to check out as standalone titles, but I still don't think I can recommend this show to anyone because it took way too long to actually get decent even. Like, I know shows like, I've seen shows like Border Town that were just downright ass. But, like, I don't think I'd watch a second season of Border Town. It didn't happen. It got canceled by Fox. Like, even if it did, I probably wouldn't watch it just because of how downright ass it was. I think maybe Border Town actually might have been better than this show, but it was still bad. But, like even though Crossing Swords had 3 decent episodes, like, I still think Border Town was slightly better because Border Town actually had some funny moments and some okay characters. I just didn't like how it was just the same joke over and over again, but like that this show is just the same joke over and over again. Yeah, I cannot recommend this show to anyone. So there you go, guys. You have my thoughts on Crossing Swords, my first review. I'll likely be doing Central Park next because I know you guys are looking forward to that. Then I'll be doing Solar Opposites, and then Close Enough. And then I'll likely get to Duncanville after that. So, now that my schedule's free, now I have a lot to cover. So, tell me what you thought in the comments. Let's talk. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.